Good morning, Robertson Chapel. Thank you for joining me for day 20 of the Bible reading plan. 20 days. We are on route for 1 month in the Bible. 1 month that we've all spent every day, if not most days, in the Bible. That is incredible. And I just hope you're changed like I've been changed through these passages. Today is a good one. Matthew 20. It starts out, Jesus tells a parable. He says, for the kingdom of heaven is like this. He said it's like a master who, it's time to harvest all of the crops and he needs work. So he agrees, he finds someone at around the first hour, which would be 6 a.m. He finds someone, a group of people to work, and he says, I'll give you a day's wages. And a day's wages in that time would be 1 denarii. It's one of the currency of the time. It's a fair wage, and they agree on that. And he says the master needs more workers, so he goes out at the third hour, so 9, and he hires more people. He goes out at noon, and then he goes out at 3 p.m. He goes out at 5 p.m. And each time he hires a group of guys who aren't working. He says, why are you working? He says, well, no one's hired us. So they come on and they start working with them. And, we see the guys who work a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift. It's all day. And then we see a guy who works from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And Jesus is giving a picture of the kingdom of heaven here, because he says when it gets done, when everybody got done working, they look, and the man paid the people who worked 1 hour 1 denarii, and he paid the people who worked all day 1 denarii. It was a fair day's wages. And when the people who had worked all day see that, they get mad. They say, how come this person who worked 1 hour gets that and I don't get more? They say, I deserve more than that. And the master says, do I not get to do with my money what I choose? I've given you your fair wages. Be grateful for it and go, be on your way. And I think a lot of us deal with that. We look at God and we say, you haven't given me enough. You've given him or her, you've given them more than me. You haven't given me enough. God, this life that you've given me is not the one I want. It's not the one I desire. You have cheated me. And I think that's what he's pointing us here to. It's the, nothing we have is deserved. We deserve hell. That's just the straight up facts. If you have sinned, if you've fallen short of God's standard, you deserve to burn for eternity in hell. And if you have anything, any gift, any gracious gift from God that is undeserved. So how can we be entitled in knowing that? I find sometimes if I am feeling entitled or I catch myself being entitled, I don't even know if this is biblical or I should do this. But I think, what if I got a taste of hell and God let me come up to earth for 10 minutes? He says, I give you the gift of coming up from hell to earth for 10 minutes. And it's just, imagine how much more grateful I would be for that 10 minutes if I knew what I truly deserved. And that's the same way I've heard it explained, grace. You've heard it explained getting something that you don't deserve. But I've heard it this way. Grace means God's riches at Christ's expense. Grace. God's riches at Christ's expense. See, grace is us getting the riches of God because of what Christ did on the cross. It's the divine exchange. We get to put on the righteousness of Christ and enter eternal life. And Christ put on our sin and our shame and the things we deserve, and he took it to the grave with him. And as we move on, it keeps that same theme in this chapter. I love Matthew 20. It says in verse 26, it shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant. He says, again, like he said in chapter 6, or verse 16, so the last will be first and the first will be last. We think of what it takes to be the greatest and be the best, and it's to get on top. But when you look into Christianity, it says, no, you're on top. You get blessings because of what Christ has done. You see this whole life that we're living is achievement based. It's, get good or work hard on your tests so you get good grades, get good grades consistently so you can graduate graduate well so you can get into a good college, get good grades in college so you can get a good job, so you can get a good promotion. Everything is rewards based. And then you get Christianity and it says, none of you are good, but it's because what Christ did that you can get the reward. It's not something you've done. It's because what Christ did. So now follow Christ and become low. Humble yourselves. And this is where I want to leave us today, because we know that it's not anything that we do that gets us to heaven. We know that we don't deserve anything. It's all because it's all from God's riches at Christ's expense. But I like what Christ says here in verse 27. And whoever will be first among you must be your slave, even as. So he says, you need to humble yourself. You need to make yourself someone's slave. You need to be at the expense of others around you. You need to be led by the Spirit and serve others. Give your life for others. Give your life for God. I love this. He says, even as. He says, be this. This is how you should be. Even as the Son of Man came, not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. So I was thinking as I was going through that, I've never really noticed this, but he says, be like this, be like Christ, because he came to serve, not to be served, and he gave his life as a ransom for many. And I thought about that, I know that Christ was a ransom for me. I know he set me free, but if I'm supposed to follow this example of Christ, how can I set others free? How can I be a ransom for others? Maybe not in the big way Christ did, but I think today we all have an opportunity to free somebody. I think we all know someone who is out there today, you might pop in your head as I'm saying this, who needs setting free, who needs freedom. But you might be sitting there and saying, knowing the truth, knowing the way that leads to life, having the key that opens the door to salvation through Christ, and you're sitting there holding it, not sharing it. While everyone else is out there in prison, not knowing the truth of the gospel, we sit inside our four walls of the church and we keep it to ourselves. And I don't want that to be so. I want us to be a church that goes out. Give your life as a ransom for many. Let your life be one that sets others free. Show people, point others to Christ. Be a ransom in that you have the ability to open the doors of the prison. Christ died. He was that ransom. He was that payment. But now you need to be the one that shows people freedom, that sets people free, points them to the one who can truly do that, and that's Jesus. I pray today, walk with that. Let that guide you. The word ransom. Be a ransom. Point people to their true ransom, the true freedom of their souls, which is Jesus Christ. And remind yourself that grace is God's riches at Christ's expenses. We don't deserve anything. It's all a gift from God. Thank you for joining me for 20 whole days. I'm so excited to keep going. I'm energized to just continue through the New Testament with you. Continue to grow, continue to read, continue to share what God is showing you. Have a good day.